It could kill tanks like a god and die like a man. Germany's 88mm Nashorn was unstoppable from a distance, slicing through Soviet armor at Kursk. Yet its crews sat behind just 10mm of steel, one misstep from death. Why would anyone climb in? And why, when the shooting started, did so many refuse to fight? Everything begins with the panic of 1941 and a trade-off that would haunt every man who served inside. In June 1941, German columns rolled into the Soviet Union expecting a rapid victory. Within weeks, those expectations shattered. Soviet T-34s and K-F tanks began appearing on the battlefield, machines with sloped armor and raw mechanical power that shrugged off the standard German anti-tank weapons. The 37mm Pak-36, once called the door knocker, barely scratched their paint. Even the newer 50mm Pak-38 struggled to stop a T-34 from the front. German infantry and panzer units found themselves outmatched, their shells bouncing off as Soviet armor advanced with grinding certainty. The answer existed on paper. The new 8.8cm Pak-43 was a gun with the power to punch through almost any tank in the world. But the reality was less promising. The Pak-43 weighed over 4,600 kilograms, more than 4.5 tons. Towed behind a half-track, it became a lumbering target. Mud, snow, and Soviet artillery made moving these guns a nightmare. Units often abandoned them rather than risk losing men and vehicles to recover a stuck or broken-down piece. The gun's raw power meant nothing if it could not be where it was needed when it was needed. Ordnance officers in Berlin faced a crisis. The Red Army was pushing back, and the only weapon that could reliably stop their tanks was too heavy to keep up with the front. German engineers and commanders sent urgent reports. The towed guns were effective only in static defense. In attack or during a retreat, they were a liability. Every mile eastward stretched supply lines thinner, and every day brought more reports of lost guns and battered crews. The pressure to find a solution grew with each Soviet breakthrough. The factories could not deliver enough new tanks fast enough. The Panther and Tiger projects were still months away from the battlefield. Something had to bridge the gap. A weapon with the killing power of the Pak-43, but able to move with the spearhead. The answer would require breaking old rules, combining parts that were never meant to fit together, and trusting that speed and firepower could make up for everything else left behind. German engineers faced an impossible equation: mount the Army's most powerful anti-tank gun on a vehicle that could keep up with the front lines, and do it fast with whatever parts were on hand. The result was a machine that looked like it had been cobbled together in a hurry because it had. The Nashorn's chassis was neither Panzer III nor Panzer IV, but a fusion of both. It borrowed the Panzer III's 2.95 meters width and its transmission, steering, and drive sprockets. The suspension and tracks came straight from the Panzer IV, chosen for their ability to handle the extra weight of the long 88mm gun and its tall superstructure. To make room for the massive Pak-43 and the crew that served it, designers moved the Maybach HL-120 TRM engine from the rear to the center of the chassis. This change freed up the entire back half of the vehicle for a fighting compartment, but it also forced a split crew layout. The driver and radio operator sat up front, protected by a steel hull. The commander, gunner, and loader worked in the rear, exposed to the elements and enemy fire in an open-topped compartment with only 10 to 20 millimeters of armor on the sides and rear. That thin steel was enough to stop shell fragments and small arms, but nothing more. In a close fight, it might as well have been paper. The Nashorn silhouette loomed large, high, and boxy, unmistakable on the horizon. Its gun barrel stretched almost 7 meters, overhanging the nose. The vehicle's weight reached 24 tons, yet the hybrid chassis and 300 horsepower Maybach engine managed to push it to 40 kilometers per hour on roads. But every design choice came with a trade-off. The open compartment gave the gun room to operate, but left the crew vulnerable to artillery, mortars, and strafing aircraft. The thin armor kept weight down, but meant that even machine gun fire could be deadly at close range. The Nashorn was a machine built for one purpose: to deliver the 88mm gun where it was needed, fast. Everything else, protection, comfort, even crew safety, was sacrificed for firepower and mobility. The men who crewed it understood this bargain every time they climbed aboard. A Nashorn crew faced a daily routine shaped by precision and discipline. The PaK-43 gun at the heart of the vehicle was not just powerful, it was surgical. Firing a 10.4 kilogram shell at nearly 1,000 meters per second, it could pierce 202 millimeters of sloped armor at 100 meters. Even at a full kilometer, the gun still punched through 132 millimeters, enough to defeat almost any Allied tank from a safe distance. But every shot counted. The Nashorn carried just 40 rounds, 16 in side bins, the rest on the floor. That forced crews to weigh each trigger pull. There was no room for waste or bravado. Doctrine drilled into every commander was simple: choose your target, fire once, move before anyone could shoot back. One shot, one kill, then relocate. The vehicle's organization reflected this philosophy. Each Schwer Panzerjägerabteilung, the heavy tank destroyer battalion, fielded 45 Nashorns, 3 companies of 14, plus 3 for command. These units operated independently, assigned where the threat was greatest. Crews relied on coordinated logistics. Ammunition trucks kept a steady flow of shells to the front, but resupply was always a race against enemy artillery and aircraft. The Nashorn's gun could outmatch anything on the battlefield, but the vehicle's survival depended on accuracy, planning, and teamwork. Every engagement was a calculation: distance as armor, speed as shield, and the knowledge that a single mistake could be fatal. The Nashorn was a sniper rifle in the world of tanks, and its crews learned to fight with the patience and nerves of a marksman. Across the rolling plains of Kursk in July 1943, the Nashorn finally met the battlefield it was built for. The open steppe offered sightlines stretching up to 2 kilometers, distances where an 8.8 centimeter gun could strike first and vanish before the enemy could answer. Here, doctrine became reality. Nashorn battalions like Schwer Panzerjägerabteilung 560 and 655 hunted Soviet armor from hidden positions, picking off tanks at ranges that left the crews untouched by return fire. The vehicle's thin armor and exposed crew mattered little when no enemy could close the gap. Kursk's geography turned the Nashorn into a true sniper, its long barrel sweeping the horizon for targets. But it was in the frozen forests near Vitebsk during the winter of 1943 that the Nashorn's reputation was sealed by the actions of a single man. Lieutenant Albert Ernst, commanding a Nashorn in Schwer Panzerjägerabteilung 519, faced a Soviet assault on December 23rd. With careful aim and nerves of steel, Ernst's gun destroyed 14 enemy tanks using just 21 shots. His precision and discipline turned the Nashorn's doctrine into legend. By January, Ernst was credited with 55 enemy tanks destroyed and awarded the Knight's Cross, earning the nickname Tiger of Vitebsk. Behind every story like Ernst's stood the reality of numbers. Germany built just 494 Nashorns from 1943 to 1945. Each one was a gamble, speed and firepower traded against protection. In the right hands, on the right ground, the Nashorn could dominate the battlefield. But its promise always came with a warning. Distance was safety, and closing in meant risking everything. Modern warfare still demands impossible choices: maximum firepower or human survival. Today, armored vehicles grow ever more lethal, but vulnerability never disappears. The Nashorn's paradox endures. Every battlefield innovation asks, who pays the price for military shortcuts? That question remains unanswered. What's your take? Let's talk in the comments.